Good morning. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Ms. Dreckhoff?
Present.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Present.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Ms. Parker?
Present.
Mr. Seroy? Mr. Swanson? Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Miller? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Foster? Ms. Farmer Earps? Mr. Wheeler?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Public comment. I have two public comments today. The first one's Vincent Clark. Oh, you're here too. Okay. Mr. Clark. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to the Finance Committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Vincent Clark. I'm the Executive Director of Kankakee County Community Services Incorporated. We are partnering with the grant from the county with the Greater Kankakee Black Chamber of Commerce, as well as Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, in providing services to individuals in need throughout Kankakee County. I just wanted to share with you an update of where we are from a financial standpoint. We did receive our second distribution of funding for $176,000 for our programs. Thus far, we've had the Zeta Phi Beta, sorority. They have expensed several $1,000s, $14,000 in scholarships to high school graduates from Kankakee County. We have had our program to start. We had a late start because we were waiting to make sure we had the funding. Not that I don't trust the county, but the state of Illinois has taught me not to spend what I don't have in the bank. So I want to thank you all for giving us the funding, not only for Zeta Phi Beta and the Black Chamber, but also thank you for giving us funding for homeless individuals. We got the first payment of $33,000. We ran through that money rather quickly, talked to our chairman of the board, Mr. Andy Wheeler, and he was able to help us get our second $33,000 for the second phase, which was actually the second year worth of funding, to us rather quickly. We have already gone through that pretty much. But we're not going to come back to you, Mr. Chairman, asking for the other $33,000. We're trying to wait until we can get our state money and some federal funds if we don't have a shutdown. Yes, we had spent the $33,000, and we had about 50 applications still on file, people who needed help, and we had no money from DHS available, CSBG. We had spent all that money out, basically, and FEMA. So we had $0 to spend. So when I shared that with the board chair, he said that, hey, let me see if I can work something out. Made a few phone calls. I think he talked to someone in the state's attorney's office as well as to Steve McCarthy. And within a couple of days, we had a check waiting for us here at the county building. And we were able to go through that money quickly. And as soon as we went through that money, we looked up and saw that our federal funding for CSBG was approved, was coming through. Now we're looking for some other federal funds to come through. We just don't know when it's going to come through. Okay, so again, I'd like to thank you all for your assistance in getting that done and taking care of the needs of the people. Okay, I was going to get there. Okay. I thank Mr. Hunter for keeping me straight. Yeah, he's the hype guy. That's right. I can tell you that Mr. McCarthy's office actually came to do an audit with us. I believe that was in July or August, Steve. And we weren't really nervous about it. I was trying to stick my chest out by saying, hey, come on, we'll take you on. And when the young lady came to look at the books, we had everything laid out for her. So I didn't want her asking for anything, put everything about this grant in these folders, have them on the conference table in our conference room. She came in, she sat there, she went through everything with my deputy director. When I called her back, I was told by Ms. Wells, my deputy director, that everything went through with flying colors. What we did literally was we wanted to make sure that what any funding source required of us, we actually had the ability to meet that requirement. And then we started training our partners to do the same thing, so that when the county comes in, what you've seen KCCSI do for the rental or the emergency housing program, you're going to see the same steps and procedures with all of our partners. And we've even extended that to some other funding recipients. Church groups that's doing housing and emergency services, we've given them our application folders, and we've given them the process of how to pay for things and how to order things. So there's continuity throughout the county with our partners and some of our other partners who necessarily got funding from you all. Okay, so with that being said, we're on track right now to spend the money, but I will be talking to the board chair about the possibility of extending the time frame, because our grant that's open right now that we have some funding coming through is going to end December of 24. But I was questioning whether or not this grant was able to be extended for the following year, because we had a year and a quarter worth of funding, and we're just trying to make sure that we're not rushing through. And Zeta will share with you on what they did once we got the money approved and in-house. It took them maybe 3 weeks to get things up and running, and they're going to share the success of the program that they did. Any questions? I don't know if this is appropriate.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Adrian Henderson and Alicia Clark.
Transparency, this is my wife.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone. Alicia is passing out some information for you all to take a look at. But I'm Adrienne Henderson. I am the board chair of Gamma Alpha Psi Zeta Pearls of Hope Foundation, as well as the president of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated Kankakee chapter. So I'm here to talk about our Zeta Career Academy, Alicia and I, as well as the success of the academy. And so through the funding, as Mr. Clark talked about, from the county, which we are extremely appreciative of, our goals were to help the recent graduates within the last 5 years of Kankakee County high schools and other programs find out their path, or help to align their path with what their interests are. So we went through a process of advertising our program. Also, we went through a process of having them complete information about their interests, their likes, to really help align what their next career plans were, whether that was vocational, whether that was attending a college or a university. And so through that process, we were able to help the students and the participants better understand how they could be successful in whatever decision they chose in the path, their career path that they were planning on next. And so we received really great feedback from the participants over this 3-week program that we had in the late summer. Many said that, you know, they really enjoyed the program. It truly did help. But they really enjoyed the mentoring aspect. So after the program is completed, they met all the requirements by not only attending the sessions, but also actively participating in those sessions. Upon completion, they did qualify for the scholarship, and then they've also received mentoring. So as part of these mentoring program, what our goal is to help lighten the burden and help encourage them as they're going through their postgraduate education or program now, because we know at times there are various challenges, whether that's, you know, personal challenges at home, personal challenges at school, or whatever vocational program that they may be in, or school challenges, and to help encourage them and to stay on the path that they set out to be in. And so that has been extremely successful with talking with the participants and hearing how proud they are by having us as mentors. and helping to encourage them and helping them stay the path of what they set out to do. So Alicia will provide a bit more information from a metrics perspective. So I'll turn it over to her.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Again, thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I too echo Adrian's sentiments with appreciation with the county for allowing us the funding to support this very much needed effort. If in the packets you will turn to page 7, I'm just going to do a high-level overview of the outcomes that we had with this program. So I'm a stats person, quite frankly, so programs are great, but I need quantitative, at least to solidify success in my head. I need quantitative outcomes and goals that we can meet, and then measure those goals as with regard to success of the programs. I'm familiar through my profession with career readiness programming, so I'm also familiar with enrollment and how enrollment drops no matter how long or how short the program is. When you have your 100% participation level with regard to recruitment, in most cases, you're going to lose some along the way. So the goals that are outlined on page 7 align with other programmatic efforts in which I have been involved, to which I could apply those previous stats. So with the 2023 program, we had an initial goal of recruiting 20 participants. Unfortunately, we were a little bit late out of the gate, and we missed the opportunity to engage the Kankakee High School seniors before they left school. Nonetheless, we thought, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So our organization actively engaged in publicizing this program via social media. And then, quite frankly, we talked to people that we knew at church. We sent text messages to families that we know who have young people that have recently graduated from high school who may not quite have solidified their direction, and encourage them to send their sons and daughters to this program accordingly. So with about a 3-week window, we successfully recruited 15 participants. And the stats that you have in front of you are based on that 15 participant enrollment. So, I came up here without my glasses. Okay, so for session 1, the goal again with
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Those are good ones.
I don't know. I'll try. I just need to stretch my arm out. Thank you. So for session 1, our enrollment goal was 15, and we started out with 15. So again, it's anticipated that we would lose some along the way. For session 2, where we went into a deeper, session 1 was, let me back up, was an introductory to the concepts and helping the, thank you. Oh, these are my bifocals. I have on contacts today. Thank you. Goodness, I'm sorry. Me and my eyes. Session 1, back up, Alicia, was the introductory session where we introduced the participants on how to identify a career pathway. We regarded this as being very substantive to the program because individuals who are just entering high school or recently graduated from high school may not really understand what their career pathway options are. So through some assessments and things to that effect, that is what's covered in session 1. The goal was to have 15 participants, and we had that 15 participants. And session 2 is when we did a deeper dive into the sessions where we actually had them to identify a career pathway that either aligned with what they were already studying, what they were anticipating studying, or they really had no idea. That's important. And actually, I wish I would have had this experience younger. Those of us who have selected career pathways, you only know what you've been exposed to. Remember your 8 or 9-year-old self when auntie, mom, dad, grandma says, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? I was going to be Wonder Woman. We should have we should have connected. But you know what you've seen? Teacher, lawyer, doctor, Superman and Wonder Woman, right? So, but you don't necessarily make those choices and assumptions according to what your natural tendencies are. You only know what you've seen. So in session 2, we actually performed an assessment that gave them out of the assessment in a full laundry list of career pathway options that would be good for them based on what their natural tendencies are, based on what their interests are, based on their personality engagement tendencies. And that assessment in some cases confirmed what they were interested in. In other areas, it opened up a brave new world of career pathway opportunities that they had not even been exposed to. And we aligned that with compensation, right? Because we all work to get paid. And it's important that career pathway options that they selected align with the quality of life that they expect to have after their educational process is over. So anticipating to drop some for session 2, our goal was to have 14 return, and we had 14 return. We did have one young lady who dropped out for her own personal reasons, but again, with the metrics, we were expecting to lose some along the way. By session 3, we did a deeper dive into the career pathway assessment, whereby we did an exercise along with career readiness training, where we said, okay, you've chosen your career pathway, let's look at how much it makes according to where it is that you want to live. We let them know that Kankakee County is not a bad option to live in post education, because our cost of living is much lower compared to some areas. But so they picked where they wanted to live, and then we went on Google. We said, okay, let's buy a house, let's buy a car. You got kids? Do you have cable? Right? We did full budget outlines according to help them understand how that career pathway that they have chosen is going to align with the lifestyle that they want. And it was amazing. It was amazing. So many of them said, yeah, I'm in the right area. Some of them said, I might need to change. That's important, because it's nothing like graduating from college with a degree and debt. And you get into a career pathway where all you can do is afford to pay your education debt, and your other lifestyles expectations are compromised because you're not making enough money. So we had discussions about passion and compensation. We were expecting, from a goal perspective, by session 2 to have 12 participants. We retained our 14. Session 3, again, was a deeper dive. We were expecting to have 12 participants. At the end, we retained our 14. So at the end of the program, we were expected to have an 84% retained participation rate, and we actually had 95%. So this is, as far as the local economy, the return on investment that the county has made is substantial. It will be realized substantially, because not only will these young people, through mentoring, stay with their education pathway in most cases, many of them will come back here, and they will come back in a self-sufficient mode as opposed to being dependent on programming. So this is a viable program that is extremely effective in the lives of the young people who engage. We appreciate the 2 years funding. We initially requested 3, so if you have any extra money hanging around, we'll take it. Just because we are passionate about the potential outcomes and the impact that this programming has on the young people, their lives, and the potential benefit to our county. Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to extend public comment for 5 more minutes? Motion by Mr. Fairfield, second by Mr. Fedley, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up for public comment, Gloria Kennedy.
Good morning, and thank you very much for extending for me. As the president for the Black Chamber, I just want to come to publicly say I appreciate what the county, the Finance Committee, and the Special Committee for the ARPA funds have done by giving us the opportunity to provide a youth entrepreneurship program again in our county. Now, this program, it's been asked of me, is this program only for Black children? I need everyone to understand this is a county-wide initiative. So children from throughout the county are welcome. 7th through 8th grade is our target, and we're looking for 20 participants. This money is going to allow us to be able to really set young people who are serious about entrepreneurship on the right path. I would also like to kind of warn you all, many of you have done business before, so some of you might hear from us to come to speak to our children in the business aspect. I also wanted to just say that the county youth program we will start our marketing in November. We plan to launch right after the Christmas holiday. So our first program will start in January. And again, I said the 7th through 12th graders, and our goal is 20 children. So thank you all. Any questions for me? I'm trying to be quick because they're already over, but Vincent wants me to tell you all. Some of the lesson topics that we will discuss. First is, what is an entrepreneur? So we need our youth to understand that working for yourself, some people think that if you work for yourself, you don't have to work that hard. And most of us who are entrepreneurs understand that it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
We work even when we're with our families at home, even holidays. So research the product, understanding what their competition is, how to market how to put your product into a market, how to price your product or service. Also, we want to make sure our children understand that how to finance their business. What are the options there? Am I going to have to do it myself? How am I going to come up with these funds? So working capital, and how do I get it? The types of ownership when it comes to your business, the reason you need to set up a certain type of business. So these are the topics, and we'll also be talking about their goals for their business, their 3, 5, and 10-year goals, and banking and insurance. So those are some of the topics we cover throughout the Youth Entrepreneurship Program. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to allow Ms. Parker to enter the meeting via Zoom? Motion by Mr. Long, second by Mr. Dunnell. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Next up is the approval minutes of the September 27, 2023 meeting.
Polk.
Motion by Ms. Polk, second by Mr. Featherling. Any discussion, comments, or corrections? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Huss.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to amend the agenda and have the bid opening take place and get it organized before we get to that section.
Motion by Mr. Hess, second by Mr. Dunnell. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Wheeler.
Motion to open the bids.
Motion to open the bids. Motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Long. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, Steve. Good morning, Kevin.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I made the motion to have him open them and organize them.
Oh, I thought it was to amend.
To amend, to open and organize, so.
Okay.
And then we will cover it when that,
Covers it, then we're fine. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure somebody.
but I mean,
Okay.
does he have to open them there?
Do you want to open them there, or you want to
We
open
can
them?
continue
You
on
guys
the
tell
meeting.
me what you're doing. I didn't expect this, so.
I would say sit next to Mr. Featherling. We'll go ahead and have you open them there, and then Steve can go ahead and go on with the financial reports.
Correct. Save us some time.
Are we cool with that?
Chairman, do I need to give the preference about the process before we open? Because it's going to be,
I think it would be a good idea, and then maybe you jump over there and open them on camera.
Okay.
So people
Okay,
can
yeah,
see you
okay.
open them on camera.
okay, so we need to understand here, the actual bid or RFP was very complicated, and we asked for a lot of information. So that being said, we're going to announce who the people are that submitted a bid, and we're going to open them, but no decision will be made today. In fact, as I've discussed in other committees, we have a group of people that are going to be part of the process to make the recommendation to you. That's myself. I'll deal with the technology part. There's Steve McCarty. He'll deal with the financial and budget part. There's Anita. She'll deal with the overall administration of making sure everybody's following the process correctly. And I believe Andy, if I talk about Mr. Alexander, will be have a board representative as part of that committee. A little bit deeper in there, what I'm going to do is, and I've worked this with, I talked to the finance director and I talked to Anita, since it's going to be very complicated and a lot of that doesn't involve the other three, what I'm going to do is go through the documents, make sure they're in compliance with what we originally wanted to happen, organize that, then I'll hand that off with Steve. He'll take from that and put the numbers together based on what I tell him, because this is really, while cost isn't the overriding thing, it's one of the key things he's doing. So he needs to do some budget concerns, not just for this year, but going forward. Then we'll bring all the members together. So it'll be in a summarized version that, all right, these are the things that met it. Here's the numbers. So Matt and Anita can add into that, because otherwise that wouldn't mean anything to them. So there'll be a step process. This is going to take some time. This is a minimum. It's going to take a month before that's going through. And remember, we're not dealing with an emergency. We're addressing a change of architecture, and we're doing something to prepare for the future. And we had some other issues with AT&T, not overcharge, increases some of those charges, and we need some of that stuff to be out of the way too. So this isn't something that will be made today. It's a very complicated process, and since we wanted all options available, we said basically give us the various options so that it won't be black and white when we open it today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for the overview.
So over there.
Yeah. All right, next up, Mr. McCarty. You have in your packets all the miscellaneous financial reports.
What's an I one today?
Good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Yeah, you don't want to sit in Nick's chair.
I'll break this one next. Good morning. All right, we got a little bit more to cover today than normal, so I'll just ask if there's any questions for the miscellaneous financial reports, the normal tax, sales tax, income tax, use tax, etc. If there's any questions or not, won't spend a lot of time unless someone has a question.
Any questions for Steve? Can you talk into your microphone? It should be on.
My voice isn't picking up. Okay. Okay.
Turn off yours. Okay. All right, next up is cash flow update.
Yeah, everything's looking good there. Unless there's any questions, again, I won't spend a lot of time, but I will answer any questions there.
Very
We
healthy.
have a lot to keep moving on.
Mr. Hunter?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Steve, when do we receive the opioid money?
We
Does
got
anybody know?
3 checks. This is October, end of August, I believe. Sometime in August, I believe, is when they showed up. Or at least that's when we became aware that they were here. And we created two funds and got them deposited and stuff. And they are now included in the new budget document.
And that money goes over to Roe?
Yeah, one for the state's attorney, one for the sheriff.
Okay.
And I believe the coroner is interacting with the state's attorneys.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Next up is claims recommended for approval, not approval.
You want me to do these individual, take them collectively? I just name them off, or?
Mr. Dunnell? Combine and approve. Motion by Mr. Dunnell, second by Mr. Wong. Any discussion? Do you have anything to highlight on it, Steve, or? No.
I just feel better if we just identify them. So there's a
Okay.
Verizon wireless bill, one Dan Hendrickson reimbursement, Daily Journal with the planning department, Daily Journal with the admin department, and ARPA Lost Revenue Fund. 2 credit card ones, both state's attorney and an employee reimbursement for mileage, Jeffrey Olson.
Any department head that wants to go ahead and speak about these?
Any other comments?
If not, roll call. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber? Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Featherly? Mr. Dunnell? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Foster? Ms. Arma Erbs? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Next up is monthly claims. Can I have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Hunter, second by Mr. Dunnell. Any highlights, Steve, or any discussion?
I don't have anything specific, no, so there's any questions.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Foster? Ms. Armour Erps? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Next up is the approval of the 2024 budget appropriation.
Yeah, we have a PowerPoint. Let Kelly bring it up here just to hit the highlights. We can go to the second slide, Kelly, whenever you want. All right, just the highlights of the fiscal year 2024. It's a draft budget at this point. It'll go on public display and become official once the county board, as a total, votes it in. Before you have a total of $112,932 with 105. I said that wrong.
112 million.
Yeah, 112.9. How's that? Total budget for all funds. For the general funds, just over 42 million. Balanced budget. 3.6 million for the tort fund specifically, and pension fund just over 7 million in total. Go ahead, Kelly, if you want. Just want to spend a little bit of time on this graph. This is the general fund ending fund balance graph with actual and then the estimated for 2023, our current year. Obviously, it's a good story to tell, but I also want to make sure we keep it in perspective. This is about the equivalent of an insurance policy, so I want to describe it as self-insurance. And for round numbers, our original highest point was 5 million that were depicted in 2008. Our lowest was minus 5 million. So that's a $10 million shift when the economic change happened during those years. We are now at approximately, we're approaching 11 million. So if the same thing were to happen, we would end up at a plus 1 million. And to put that in perspective, that's good that we would stay positive, but each payroll every 2 weeks is 1.1 million. So even though we'd stay positive, it's still not a perfect scenario to be in. So I just wanted to keep in perspective, this is great. Everybody has worked really hard to get to this point, but it's not excessive because of the volatility that we've already experienced in our history, what we've already lived through. So I just want to make sure that we keep it in perspective, but I also want to, congratulate Chairman Wheeler, this finance committee, the board, the elected, the appointed officials, and all the employees that participated in this graph, that have been there, that felt this, that lived this, that lost sleep during that time. We can all sleep better, obviously, but I think proper perspective is also important, that we never lose sight of the lesson that we learned and the dollar amounts that are involved potentially, going through something like that. So we'll continue to work on it, and we'll have a fund balance goal discussion in the near future, potentially to set a new fund balance goal, for the county and specifically the general fund, since it's the main operating fund. But I wanted to highlight that, but also make sure we keep it in perspective, and where we're at now, and also the insurance of potential if something else were to happen, where would we be, and where do we need to be at to make sure we can function properly, at any point in time in the future. So, any questions on that?
Questions, comments? Very healthy.
Very good news. So the next page, and this is included in the budget document. This brings in all three funds. So we just discussed specifically the general fund, but in total for the tort fund and the pension fund combined with the general fund, we are estimating to be approximately $19.5 million. Not only did the general fund go negative during that time, but also the pension fund went negative, and tort got very close to going negative. So again, perspective of, in total balance, and, the responsibility of all three of those funds, the major funds, in our operations, to make sure that we can sustain, anything in the future. So again, perspective. So just give you a big picture look at that. And then we have new items within this new FY24 budget. As we're all aware of, the Safety Act is one of those that we're doing our best to guesstimate at this point the impact, working with the Sheriff's Department and all the court departments. So we have plugged in initial guesstimates, and we'll continue to fine-tune that as that process and is learned and develops, and and as we progress with that. So but it is an initial investment is plugged in for that. We also will be paying down another set of bonds in 2024, series 2011, series 2012 and 12A. So we have that plugged into capital development, which we'll look at here soon. There's also money plugged in for a new multi-use van for state's attorney, probation, and admin. I don't know if Chairman Will, if you want to discuss that or not, or
it's a transit van that you don't need a special driver's license for. You can drive with a regular, was it Class B or whatever we got normally? I forget that. But it's mainly for Jim Rose after school programming with court-involved youth to keep them away from the triggers, take them to their friends' ball games, stuff like that. Load it up, go do events, but also for admin to use if we need to take a bunch of people down to county board training, or specifically probation has a use for it as well. So it's a shared vehicle, if you will, for all of us. Primarily state's attorney. But that was the used price, 41,000, or so I think we put it at 45, Steve, and then we'll go look at state bid and figure out where that's got to go when the time comes.
And then just for informational and public notice, there is new state legislation that changes how the Veterans Assistance Commission is funded, primarily with the tax levy. So I plugged in just to give you an example of what's changing without going into all the detail. For tax year 2022 collected in 2023, it was $296,000, and the new estimate for tax year 23, which will be collected in 2024, will be $704,000. So that's an additional $408,000 that is reflected in Fund 380, the Veterans Assistance Commission Fund. So it's part of the budget document. We will be covering tax levy information in detail at next month's meeting. But being that it is part of a change in the budget document, I wanted to make sure we informed you and give public notice of that change that the state legislation enacted for that activity. And then the last...
Chairman Wheeler?
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what Steve just said. I asked him to mention this because we got to start letting people know that this is going to be on their tax bill. While we didn't put it there, it's our responsibility to set the levy for that. And so that $704,000 is a new line on everybody's tax bill that the state legislature has done in there. And it's just specifically for the veterans. The county board doesn't manage them. They have their own board, they have their own budget. It's in our budget, but we don't control it. It's just more like, here it is, and we set their levy to equal out what that state law mandates. I hope that makes sense. So we're kind of like what do they call that? Ministerial. We don't make the decision. We just kind of make sure it happens. I hope that makes sense. Steve, is that pretty much an accurate description? Okay. Oh, the other thing is the budget. I want to make sure everybody knows that it's, if you look at the top line on it, it is artificially high, is because we're using revenues that we have already to pay off these bonds and these debts. We're using cash, so that's going to be found within the budget. We're not going to ask the taxpayers for that. Actually, we're abating taxes to pay for that out of our own funds, but we have to contain it. This is the proof. The newspaper had said, that the county says, well, this is it. This is the county doing, and I hope that resonates as well. Thank you.
All right, the last slide that we had was specifically within the general fund, the capital development worksheet that identifies future potential current squad leases, capital improvements, the health department bond payment ongoing for 5 or 6 more years. The multi-use van, you know, and some of the new things, as well as, you know, as we all know, we paid off Series 2009 a little over a month ago, and then the total for paying off the 3 bonds mentioned here in, you know, fiscal year 24. So those items identified in, you know, specifically, and we bolded out, you know, some of the new ones going forward. So just wanted to make sure we brought that, you know, to everyone's attention and identified that. So beyond that, those are some of the highlights. We all have had the budget, draft budget since Friday. I don't know if there's any specific questions that I can answer or not within it.
Good highlights there. Any discussion from the committee? Questions? Ms. Herbst.
On the general fund budget, where it says legal fees, it says 15,000 in 23, and then it says draft of 50,000. Why is such an increase in 2024?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to take that,
Chairman?
Chairman?
We're being sued. The county's being sued by the auditor, and we have to pay. So that is just a place for us to account for that money. It may come out of tort. There is outside legal fees that we need that the state's attorney's conflicted in. It's just a place kind of to hold that in case we need it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Can I have a motion to approve the budget? Motion by Mr. Hunter, second by Mr. Long. By Mr. Long. Any other discussion? Mr. Hunter.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. I leaned back to the chairman. I said everybody should be screaming and saying thumbs up, and I really appreciate the pragmatic approach of the administration and Mr. McCarty and this particular committee. You guys go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and you've done a marvelous job. When you think in terms of paying off all these bonds and stuff, I mean, that's amazing action taken by this committee as well as the entire board, and this being brought forth by the administration. And the taxpayers should be really pleased with that in terms of the actions that this body has taken. And everybody deserves a pat on the back for participating and affirming the recommendations that have been made.
Thank you, Steve.
That's a good summary. We've gone from talking about debt needed to pay bills and payroll to early paying off debt. So that's the change of conversation.
Any other comments? Chairman Wheeler?
I just wanted to make sure I manage the expectations of really the public in this committee, because we've gone through the process, or not we, the courts, the sheriff, public defender, everybody's kind of said, okay, this is across the front end, we see this happening. Mid-year, they could say, we need 4 more of this or 2 more of that because we're getting leveled with X, Y, or Z. It is a box of chocolates. We don't know what we're going to get as we go through this throughout the year. So just be prepared for us to have to move a little bit here. For you know, they may, you know, something may not pan out that we had budgeted money for. So we would move that to where it's needed. So I just want to make sure everybody knows, like the state gave the public defender money for another public defender. They're not going to help us find one, and good luck on that. Yeah. But just like everywhere, you know, everybody's looking for attorneys. But at least the money's in the budget if we do find it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments? We have a first and a second. Roll call. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Eka?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling?
Aye.
Mr. Dennell?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
Ms. Foster?
Aye.
Ms. Armour Herbst?
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Next up is ARPA, KCCSI, fringe benefit expenses.
Yeah, this would be an add-on to the approval, previous approval that we have done for KCCSI. Included the budget narrative page that had the fringes on it. It didn't, I think the total got, something happened on the copy, but the total is $7,952 is what we're discussing today and adding on to the previous approval.
Motion to approve by Mr. Hunter, second by Mr. Fairfield. Any discussion, comments? Ms. Weber?
Thank you. Was the request from the organization to include their fringes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman Wheeler?
If I could, what happens is if you don't include the fringes, the state takes back the fringes from the other grants they get. So we were actually penalizing them by not including the fringes. Does that make sense the way that I put it? They pull it back on other stuff. It's almost like school funding and, wind towers. They say it's good for the schools, but sometimes they pull back the state funding to cover that off. So I did think that there was going to be something else besides just this that we had worked out the original funding. So I apologize. I've been out of pocket for a couple weeks.
What we did.
Mr. Hunter.
I think, Chairman, what we're talking about, because I think we allocated 15 months. I think if I'm
it was 1.25, and it was the other
and we're going
0.75 that was like $40,000 funding.
Yeah, there's additional
the paperwork was already done.
Yeah, there's additional funding for 2 years as opposed to the 15 months. So.
And I apologize I didn't catch this before because frankly I've been a little busy.
I'm probably misunderstood it as well with trying to get the budget done. We could do it in another step then.
Yeah, it was a whole separate
step.
whole separate ARPA document because
so there's another step.
There was another document. With permit, see, they have to get their budget done because the state requires certain things of them. Could we get a head nod to send that document to the full board here? Because we can't wait another month. It will cost them the program.
Okay.
It's for roughly $40,000. It finishes off the 2 full years of funding. We said in the committee meetings that we wanted them to report how it went before we approved that next allocation for the next year to fill out the year. I'm satisfied. And so that's kind of the way I'm putting it. We could bring it to the full board. It's your guys' call. I'm just asking that we don't make them wait a month and a half.
Right.
So do we need a motion to not exceed 40,000?
No, because it's it's not on the agenda. It's not anything we can vote on. All
right, so we're just voting on the expenses at hand.
By taking your authority and just sending it to the full board. I would need your approval saying, yeah, head nod, it's okay, we understand, it got left off.
All right, I'm seeing head nods. So.
Okay. All right, we'll do it that direction. I'll confer with state's attorney to make sure it's all buttoned up.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Aye. Mr. Hess? Aye. Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Aye. Mr. Dennell? Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Hunter? Aye. Ms. Foster? Aye. Ms. Farmer Earps? Aye. Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Anything else, Steve?
No, I just want to say I appreciated hearing some of the outcomes of the end result of this activity. You know, we're doing the reporting and the writing the checks and keeping track of it, but it's nice to hear what the end results are. So I would encourage to have more of that. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoyed hearing it. So, yeah, what the end result, seeing a different perspective of it all.
Absolutely.
That's all I had. The
Thank
budget will be on the draft will be on the website after this.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all your hard work with the budget. Are we good over there, Kevin, or you still need more time? You have them all open? You want to go over that right now? Okay. Yeah.
No, you don't want.
as I thought, there's not one consistent method of their responses. This is going to take quite some time to go through. I understand how they did it, but they all chose to do it differently. Yeah. So, and some of them don't have a summary, so we're going to have to come to that conclusion. But they do have the itemized values.
Okay.
And, okay. How you want me to do? Just start with one?
Yeah.
And go down the road. Okay. The first one would be IP Communications Inc. It says Zachary Hughes, 1521 Windsor Road Drive. It's out of Rockford, Illinois. I don't know what you want to, how you want to proceed with that.
Chairman Wheeler?
I think we should, since price is not cost, because you see the difference there, the price is not the cost because it's system oriented. If we read in who the respondents are into the record,
okay, and
then do the evaluation afterwards and bring back that, I would defer to the state's attorney, but we've done that in the past.
Yeah, because there is no, on most of these, there is no summary value to give to you. So we're going to have to go through, add them up, and and do that.
It's not a straight price thing. It's a whole service offering, everything.
Right.
So
okay.
I think that's appropriate. Read who responded into the record, and then.
And since we also allowed them to present an on-premise and a hosted solutions, those are completely calculated different ways. So, all right. So, did we get the first one? The next one I will go to is Telcom Innovations Group, LLC. Primary contact is Matt Schwartz.
Where?
I'm getting to that. Itasca, Illinois. The next one is, make sure I get these straight. Some of them put two proposals in separate documents. The next one is Vertical Communications. Their contact is Robert Lynn. Let's find their where they're out of. This one they're not exactly saying up front. You can see it on here.
Well, that's what it'll be.
If it's here, it's inside here deep because I can't find their their location. I don't know if you want me to go farther with that since it's not saying off the top.
Because then it can come back right to the full board.
The next one is Proven IT. I know they have a local office here. They're out of the Chicago area. That I can speak because we've already awarded them in the past the copier contract throughout the county, so we have experience with them. So I know their location. The next one will be Rooter Technology. Jeff Memaga is the contact, as we all know that they're out of Kankakee, Illinois. The next one, and hopefully I pronounce this correctly. I don't know that I am. FICEK, F-I-C-E-K, Electric and Communication Systems, Inc. It's out of LaSalle, Illinois. And the last one, there's two presentations, but it's the same presentation. That's Converging Networks Group. They're out of Kankakee, Bourbonnais. They're just a couple buildings down, and they submitted an offering. I believe it's for both. And that'd be the last one.
All right. Mr. Hess?
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the lowest, most responsible bidder after the review of the team.
Okay, motion, second by Mr. Featherling. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Foster? Ms. Farmer Herbst? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Is that it?
Thank you, Kevin. Next up is the Treasurer's Office. Can I have a motion to combine and approve the Treasurer's reports? Motion by Mr.
Polk.
Long, second by Ms. Polk. Any comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good morning,
Chairman.
How are you? Good.
Morning. I don't have a lot to speak to. We are still collecting some of the straggler taxes that have come in. We're about 5 million short of our what was levied, but that's about right in where we would expect to be right now. Tax sale is on November 9th, and so taxes are able to be paid up until the 8th. And then the tax sale will take place on the 9th downstairs, 9 a.m. We do it now on a flash drive. So everybody brings their bids on a flash drive. They're randomized on a computer, and it spits it out in about 5 minutes. A much more efficient process. What I brought as well, and I'm going to put these in everybody's mailboxes upstairs. This one happens to be information about our Choices program, where you can partially pay your taxes over time. This one is translated into Spanish, so I'll put those out in everybody's mailboxes. It would be great if you could get them out. I think churches are one great way to disseminate this information, and we're gonna get out there and speak to different churches as the program continues to grow. And I think we're nearing 600,000 in interest revenue this cycle, which is something I haven't seen since I started. So pretty excited about that. Any questions?
Can you pay for next year's taxes, prepay?
You will be able to start prepaying for next year's taxes December 1. So right before Christmas, everybody's be really excited. But actually it has worked out very well for a lot of people. So, and as many of you know, and I just want to address it because Commissioner Weber asked me about it. You'll see a really long list of resolutions on your screens today. And those are essentially everything that was sold at our surplus auction. And the difference of the auctions is the surplus auction was stuff that was owned by us through the trustee and was sold. You see the price and how the money breaks out and where it went and who bought it. So that's it. I'll entertain questions if there are any.
Chairman Wheeler?
Yeah, that 5 million.
Yeah.
Just is there a rule of thumb number we could use to kind of estimate what part of that is the county's tax bill? 10%? You know, we always said school districts are 80%. You know, so how much is owed us? You know,
that's a good question. Yeah, I'll get you the exact number, but yeah, it's probably not. I don't know if it's 10, but it might be right in there.
Okay.
Schools probably would be near 80 or 70. But I'll bring that number. I'll shoot an email to you, and if you want to disseminate it among the board members, I'll tell you exactly what the breakdown is for everybody.
Just in general rule.
Yeah.
Just so we can
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions for the treasurer?
Vice Chairman? All right. Thank you. Thanks for making me wait. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, anytime. Next up is the auditor's office. Yet again, nobody's here. Other business is DCEO grant update, Aroma Park boat launch, and Kankakee River capital improvements. Are you teeing this one up, Chairman?
Ben?
Good job.
Ben?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So I gave a bit of an update at Highways and Waterways, but I think as the grant funds start to flow, and I know Steve's office received some funds on courthouse basement recently, and so we've received all the funds for that. I think it's good to keep the board updated on how the funds are flowing, and I think as the projects are more complex with Roman Parks Million or the $7 million that we're getting in additional river funds, the projects will flow a little differently than probably a straightforward project. But I did want to update this committee to say we received our first payment of funds from DCO on this project. We've met all the hurdles as it relates to our environmental requirements, and so they've signed off on all of that. The big thing for us right now is we have not been able to meet the DBE MBE requirements, so our BEP utilization plan, so that's Business Enterprise Program. So these are minority contractors and women-owned contractors. Until we select a contractor, we cannot file our BEP plan. So in that, we have a certain set requirement of that we'll do through our bidding process. So that'll be the next big hurdle on releasing construction dollars. Right now, the funds that we're receiving from DCO are to offset our engineering costs. But obviously, we don't need to receive the funds to offset construction costs until we have selected a contractor. I will say this to this committee. The way these programs work is we work on a quarterly reimbursement basis. So we will incur costs across the quarter. We will then turn over those invoices from those contractors. It's getting a little more complex, I think, than we wanted to. We need canceled checks and waivers of lien. It's getting to be a little bit outrageous, but it's what we're being asked to do, so we're doing it. And our contractors we're working with have been fantastic. I mean, I talked to Andy about it. I said it's a kind of a needless step, but I'm able to call the contractors and say, hey, I know you gave me a lien waiver, and I don't know if any of you have ever done construction. I would not waive my lien against any property owner until I've been paid. Right. So that to me would mean they've been paid, and that would be sufficient. But Commerce came back and said, no, we want a canceled check. So we call the contractors, and they send over these kind of massive bits of documentation, and they've been really accommodating for the grant funds, and we're really appreciative of it. But it will continue to be part of our process. So at the end of that quarter, we do a request within 30 days that the chairman signs, and then we would receive the funds from the comptroller's office. So as the project kicks off and more construction happens, the funds will flow a lot faster. I feel like these projects kind of front load heavy, and we do a lot of grant paperwork with no funds received. But we've met those big hurdles because they've started to pay us. So it's a good sign that funds are flowing on this grant. As far as the grant update itself is concerned, I have not seen the formal muscle report. From my understanding, though, Charlie and his team have completed the survey. We're now just awaiting final permitting. We're going to have 2 permits through the Army Corps of Engineers and a permit through the Illinois Department of Commerce, Department of Natural Resources. This will take us, it's kind of a month's process, but as far as we know on our basic, on our timeline, we're still expecting to meet that construction early of 24. So the muscle survey, while it was a hiccup for us, it has not jeopardized our initial timeline of being under construction by the start of next year.
Perfect. Any questions? Mr. Hunter?
Yeah, just one question, Ben. You indicated that you have a wonderful relationship with the contractors, and I know you won't be able to deal with the MBE, WBE stuff until the contract's been awarded. Do you anticipate a hiccup, you use that phrase quite a bit, with respect to compliance in that regard?
Not at all. Frankly, when we, and I know this isn't the same topic, when we started on courthouse basement, we received a percentage, and we were working with Mr. Bright, and Doug said, I have a lot of experience with this. We'll make sure the contract documents meet it. We did, because you have one of 2 options. You can either meet the standard, or you can ask for a waiver based on a best faith attempt. PSI, a local contractor, sent over pages and pages of documentation of who they were reached out to and all the things they did to meet the rules. These are the type of contractors we work with on projects like this, people that are really making the best faith attempt. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to hit the metrics. We sent everything over, and they said, no, we'll be good based on, you know, kind of the contractor bank that we pull from. We were able to meet that requirement. I don't see any reason we wouldn't be able to meet the requirement that they're putting forward for this. Now, if they came back and said 90% is our, I don't know that many MBE and WBE dredging contractors. That could be a difficult thing to do. I will say that material suppliers are one way that we do meet it, and so that would be, you know, one way we could do this. But our percentages on this one are not going to be that high that I don't believe we'd be able to meet it. If we're unable to meet it, as long as the contractors have done their due diligence through their bidding process, as an example, one of the contractors that would have qualified for a CMS MBE on the courthouse basement, their bid was $30,000 higher. I don't know if you remember on that project, but the top 3 bidders were in about a $30,000 range. So had PSI used that higher number, they wouldn't have been our lowest responsible bidder. So it's about sharp pencils, but still meeting the requirements. So we're really trying to kind of hone down on that, but I don't see any reason we can't do that.
And I'm not sure if this may be germane, because I deal with the city with Barbie Brewer Watson, and they're in the process of certifying a lot of contractors, and I don't know if they're WBE or MBEs, but I think some of them may be, and you may want to interface with her. I know she's off on sick leave because I think she broke her arm, and you may want to talk with her and find out if there's a listing of individuals who are WBE and MBEs that may be able to help one of the successful contractors in satisfying the requirements.
So the requirement for our program is they have to be CMS qualified, but certainly if she's got a list of people who are in the process of being Kankakee qualified, that we would need to let. Here's kind of how I look at this. If we have a local contractor who's interested in doing bids for us and knows we're going to receive these requirements, we're willing to point them in the right direction to get their kind of house in order, so that way they could be on our list, right? I mean, the idea being that we're willing to kind of point them in that direction. They still have to go through that CMS certification, but them being qualified and available will mean that our local, well, not even local, our bidders through these selection processes will see that they're local. They potentially will have a lower transportation or mobilization cost, and they potentially would be a better contractor for them to utilize. But it's the onus is on that company to get that certification from CMS. We're certainly happy to point them in the right direction, though.
Chairman Wheeler.
Yeah, to that point, you know, if you look at this Aroma Park project, the largest part of that contract, as it stands right now, and it'll probably play out this way, is going to be the trucking, the haul away, and the disposal.
Yep.
So if somebody was an MBE and they were not certified for the state, they may want to, and they're local, they may want to think about getting certified before we release those bids. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's okay to say that because there could be 5 of those companies. We're not picking one. All we're saying is that there's going to be an opportunity. Traditionally, this is how dredging works. I would imagine it's probably the same way, trucking and disposal together. But again, it's not promising anything. It's just saying, hey, we want locals to get certified. What they do in Kankakee is one thing, but they have to do it with the state to be eligible for what we have. Thank you.
My other question is Army Corps of Engineers. You think that the permitting phase is going to go ahead and go smoothly? They usually, yeah?
Yeah, so even with the transition with into Chicago office, and I know Greg's talked a little bit about this, 3 people from the Corps of Engineers came down and met with Dell and Greg recently. They took the initiative saying, hey, you know, Kankakee, welcome to our, you know, kind of our geography. They came down to talk to us about what's happening. This is, I don't want to say a relatively straightforward project. We have a nice geography, right? We drew a line around where we expect our scope to happen. So it's not, you know, something that's, you know, 20 miles worth of river work to do. This isn't an ongoing dredging project or anything like that. So not that it's not going to require us to go through all of the standard processes, but I don't believe there will be any real hang-ups. I mean, the other side of this is, and I know the chairman has faith in them as well, Christopher Burke does this all the time. Mm-hmm. And this is not, you know, Andy asked Ben to figure out how to get you know, a 404 permit or something. I mean, I would figure it out. It would just take us forever. This group that we have, and Charlie has been on top of absolutely everything. I will tell you, when I have grant questions, a lot of the time I just bug Charlie, and he can help me kind of work through that and get the agency the things they need. They've been a great resource through this entire project, and they really know what they're doing. So when they said, here's kind of our timeline on permits, that's really the timeline we'll use. So.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Thank you. Next up is accepting the bid for Hopkins Park Pembroke residential natural gas conversions. You got this one too.
I wasn't quite sure what the order was. So I know Kevin might have taken off, but this is what a bid package should look like. So at the
PZA,
unfortunately, I was out of town. I was at a required grant training for Department of Commerce during the PZA meeting. I know Dell did open this bid. We received one bidder. We've gone through to see if they were responsible bidders. So Glady Plumbing responded to our RFP, kind of similar to what Kevin's doing. So this project is a backside of the meter conversion to natural gas. So Nicor will run the main and laterals to the meter. We then need a contractor that will do work within the homes to replace water heaters or install water heaters, do orifice replacement and black iron piping, which is required for natural gas. I don't have a specific home model for them to use, so when we went through this RFP process, we asked them to answer kind of 3 questions for us. And so that way, if we received multiple bidders, we could at least compare some apples to apples. So obviously capacity of the agency to do it, we're meeting the bid rod requirements, all of things like that, but then also coming back to us and saying, here's how much it would cost to replace orifices, here's how much a water heater install would be, and here's our labor cost on black iron pipe. At least that way we could kind of apples to apples compare multiple contractors. I guess fortunately or unfortunately, we received one bid. We did receive information from another vendor who did not meet the timing requirements. So we told them that we had in our bid requirements that they had to submit an intent to bid to me by a certain point. They did not meet that point. They were a day late on submitting that email. So we told them, you didn't meet the requirements of the RFP, so please don't send a packet because we won't be able to open it. But after opening it and reviewing this, grant aside, we would like the approval of Glady to be our lowest responsible bidder so we can move forward on finishing, because I don't have a grant agreement yet. We have to finish a bunch of grant requirements. But again, to that BEP conversation we were talking about on the other grant, we need to get all of our ducks in a row so they can start working. But we will not start working until our grant is in place and until we've received a capital advance from the state of Illinois, because the county will not be holding the bag at Andy's direction on any work being done in anyone's home. So I don't want to say we're jumping into this immediately or that they'll be out there in 2 weeks. We still have to do all of the requirements, but we were very fortunate in having a local contractor that has worked on projects like this, has worked on grants for the county before, that it was able to satisfy our bid requirements.
And just so everybody knows, the grant was $1 million. Now, was it $125 an hour they're charging for labor? And could you go ahead and go over that very briefly? I think it was $125 an hour, 5 hours, what they projected to go ahead and do in each house.
Yeah, so the water heater replacement, they're assuming $750 for 6 hours. Gas orifice was $250 for 2 hours, and the labor cost on the pipe was $125. So their cost is essentially an extrapolated $125 an hour.
Yeah, and it's up in the air and how long they're going to go ahead and be at each house because it depends on it.
And I guess this is merely for the edification of this group, but you either passed or will pass. I think we passed at the full board this month, an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with Hopkins Park. We will be permitting all of these projects.
Correct, yes.
So the way the senator kind of rolled the funds out was, kind of first come, first serve, 4,500 maximum per house. We will be ensuring that I don't receive a 8 foot of pipe for $4,000.
Yeah.
you know, our team will be looking at that kind of mean square foot / appropriate cost. I mean, again, if somebody comes through and says the water heater is gonna be $8,000, we know that that's not going to fly.
feasible.
So we'll be reviewing that on a regular basis, on a house by house basis,
Okay.
just to make sure that the grant dollars are being maximized. But also that way, they're being installed in a means that's appropriate for us. We have offered to Mayor Hodge and his team, as they work through their process for their licensing and for their inspection, they can kind of do ride-alongs with us. We have a licensed plumber that we keep on retainer, though, to do this type of work, to make sure that there are no leaks, that there are no liability issues. So we want to make sure this is all done right, and being as though we're kind of the umbrella agency for the whole thing, I think it seems fitting that we would also be the one doing the permitting.
And like Dell said during PZA, those fees are going to go ahead and come to the county because we're going to do the permitting phase. Go ahead.
Yeah. Who's going to come up with the extra money?
Use your microphone, please.
Sorry. Who's going to come up with the extra money that costs to do the homes?
So the homeowners will be responsible for that.
The extra
And
part.
so
over $4,500.
Yeah.
Over anything over 45.
So I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of a la carte work, just being very blunt about it, where a homeowner could say, we'll do the piping to the water heater, but we won't worry about the orifice changes on all the appliances or something like that, where we're going to do the amount of work we can. But some homeowners might say, hey, if it's a $10,000 job, we're happy to see the $4,500 grant. You know, that's going to be their choice as homeowners, as far as how much work they want to permit. But for us, we're capping it because it's the want of the senator. I think it's a number that makes sense. It was based on an estimate that we worked with NICOR on in the initial time to see kind of what it would cost. You know, and this was again pre-inflation, inflation. So I don't know how far the dollars will go, but you can install a water heater and do some piping for under $4,500.
Okay.
Is that,
Mr. Hunter?
thank you very much. Is that the cost of the hot water heater as well too?
Yeah, so we will buy that plumbing appurtenance. We're not buying appliances for homes. There's different programming through NICOR for appliances. I guess as we saw this is a grant for the installation of building materials. These are things that, you know, are required for the home to work. This is a water heater is plumbing. It's not an appliance that rolls away. It's hard piped into the property. If there are programs that NICOR is working with the individual homeowners on converting appliances, they're going to be doing that as a whole separate set for us.
Ms. Foster?
My understanding was that you may not necessarily have to have a new hot water heater, but just the orifices to convert.
So there's a few options here. So some homes are piped with fluted copper piping, which cannot carry natural gas, so they'll need hard pipe black iron. Some homes out there already have black iron, and they'll just need a orifice swap. If you're running an electric water heater and want to convert to natural gas, though, you'll need a whole unit. If you're running a propane, you can swap the orifices. If your furnace is on propane, and that's why when bidding this, the contractors, the one contractor that called said, how are we really bidding? I almost wish now that we would have just went to one home and drawn it up and said, just give us a price on this one home, and we can extrapolate from that what the cost would be. But we tried to do it to where every home will be different. We'll coordinate with NICOR's team to get a rollout of maybe 24 homes at a go, kind of like I don't want to say a takeout, but like that process where we say NICOR will go live and charge the line on these 24. They will get those all, and then we'll be able to go out and permit and inspect multiple, because again, if we do this one at a time for 230 homes driving back and forth,
it's going to take forever.
Well, it's going to take forever and it's going to cost a fortune. Yep. So yeah, we want this all kind of as many bows tied around as many packages as we can.
Yeah. Any other comments?
No,
You're good?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. Motion to approve by Ms. Foster, second by Mr. Hunter. Any other comments or discussion from the committee? If not, roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Aye. Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Foster? Ms. Armour Earps? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ben, for clarifying it all.
Yeah, that's the word,
Yep.
clarification.
Any other old or new business? Chairman Wheeler.
I just wanted to, and I didn't do it earlier, I gotta thank Steve and all the department heads, all the give and take and the back and forth we went with department heads on budget. It seems like it was a good process, and I appreciate everybody's help and involvement in that, especially Steve, and he was really shorthanded during the process. So literally two hands shorthanded. So we appreciate that. Also, I wanted to mention, and I said it at the State of the County, we manage the workforce funds. We're the fiscal agent. That's not, so the county is technically a grant recipient, but it's so the workforce can bid out skills training and other things in the area. Well, the county has received, or going to receive via that process, $5.2 million for skills training just for the Goshen facility in Manteno. But what that's going to trickle down to is all those lower skilled positions that people can gain training and move up, and then the lower compensation ones, people can get in that pipeline, if you will. It's going to free up places in the job market here, but we're going to manage that 5.2 in terms of just the fiscal side of it. But when I was, we had the folks from KCCSI here, that skills assessment, we have local needs now with high-paying jobs, and that median wage, the cost of living, that median wage is going to go up, which may not be a great thing for current business owners. They like that, but they're also going to be attracting better and more skilled employees. So we're on the verge of a big shift in this area that I hope the students realize that there's going to be engineering jobs for them when they come home. These are not jobs that are going overseas. We're going to be able to grow them here. So these skills assessments, I think we need to really pay attention to who we're linking people up with based on the needs of the community. There's now more of a need for that, and really a mandate than ever, if we're going to maximize this opportunity long term. I'll just say it now. We got to get on it. And I know Workforce is thinking this way. We're here to help facilitate that in any way we possibly can, but it really trickles down to the schools and the people like KCCSI who are getting involved with our kids. There is now a reason to stay here. There already was, but there just wasn't a whole lot of jobs with that higher compensation. It's just starting.
Thank you. Any other old or new business? Mr. Huss.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Long. All in favor say aye.